What if the way you breathe could quietly shape the way you think, feel, and even live your life? Most people overlook this simple act, yet it holds the power to shift stress into calm and confusion into clarity. Today, you'll learn a method called the observer breath, and it might completely change how you experience reality. 1. The hidden power of conscious breathing. Breathing is the very first thing we do when we enter this world, and the last thing we do when we leave it. Yet in between those moments, most of us barely give it any attention. Our breath flows automatically, and because it doesn't demand our awareness, we often overlook its immense potential. What many people don't realize is that conscious breathing isn't just about taking in oxygen. It's about tapping into a natural tool for balance, clarity, and transformation. When you bring awareness to your breath, you instantly shift your focus from the external world to your inner state. For example, think about how your breathing changes under stress. It becomes shallow and rapid. This signals your body to release stress hormones, keeping you in a state of tension. But when you slow down and consciously take deep, steady breaths, you send the opposite message, one of safety and calm. Your body relaxes, your heart rate steadies, and your mind becomes clearer. Athletes, monks, and high performers across cultures have relied on breathing techniques for centuries because they understood this hidden power. Ancient yogic practices like pranayama, or even simple mindful breathing exercises in modern psychology, both point to the same truth. Breath is the bridge between body and mind. By becoming aware of it, you gain influence over emotions, focus, and energy levels. A relatable example is how conscious breathing can change a moment of frustration. Imagine you're stuck in traffic, running late, and stress is building. If you close your eyes for just a moment and focus only on the inhale and exhale, even without changing anything, the situation feels lighter. You're not fixing the traffic, but you're shifting your inner response. That's the power of breath awareness. It doesn't erase challenges, but it equips you to face them differently. The beauty of conscious breathing lies in its simplicity. You don't need special equipment, a quiet room, or hours of practice. You already carry this tool with you everywhere you go. All it takes is the decision to pause, notice, and connect with it. The more often you do this, the more natural it becomes to access calmness and clarity in daily life. In short, your breath is more than survival. It's your personal gateway to transformation, waiting to be used. 2. What observer breath really means. At its core, the observer breath is not about changing how you breathe. It's about noticing how you breathe. Most breathing techniques focus on controlling the inhale and exhale, like deep belly breathing or patterned rhythms. The observer breath, however, invites you to simply watch your breath as it is, without judgment or effort. You're not trying to make it deeper, slower, or smoother. You're just being present with it. Why is this important? Because when you step back and watch your breath, you also step back from the endless chatter of the mind. Think of it like sitting on a riverbank. Your thoughts and emotions are the flowing water, and your breath is the gentle current underneath it all. By observing your breath, you anchor yourself to something steady while the waves of thought pass by. This practice cultivates what psychologists call metacognition, the ability to notice your own thoughts rather than be consumed by them. For example, instead of saying, "I am stressed," you begin to recognize, "I am feeling stress." That slight shift in awareness creates space. Space is powerful because in that gap, you can choose how to respond rather than being trapped in automatic reactions. One of the most transformative aspects of the observer breath is its accessibility. You can practice it anywhere, while waiting in line, before answering a difficult text, or during a tense meeting. No one even has to know you're doing it. All it takes is gently bringing attention to the natural rise and fall of your breath, as if you are an interested witness watching something unfold. Over time, this practice strengthens your ability to remain calm in challenging situations. Instead of being pulled by fear, anger, or anxiety, you stay grounded in presence. The observer breath doesn't promise that problems will vanish, but it gives you the clarity to face them with more wisdom and less reactivity. In essence, the observer breath is about reclaiming your role as the conscious observer of your inner world. It's a reminder that you are not your racing thoughts or fleeting emotions. You are the awareness behind them. And the simplest way to reconnect with that awareness is through observing your breath. 3. Difference between reacting versus responding. One of the greatest benefits of the observer breath is that it helps you understand the difference between reacting and responding. Two ways of dealing with life's challenges that may look similar on the surface, but create completely different outcomes. A reaction is automatic. It happens in the heat of the moment, driven by emotion or habit. Imagine someone cuts you off in traffic. Your body tenses, anger flares, and before you even think, you honk or yell. That's a reaction, fast, unconscious, and usually fueled by stress or frustration. While reactions are natural, they often leave us feeling regretful or drained afterward because they come from impulse rather than intention. A response, on the other hand, is deliberate. It arises when you create a small pause between what happens and what you choose to do about it. For instance, in the same traffic scenario, if you take a breath and observe the rush of anger rising, you gain perspective. You might still honk to alert the driver, but it comes from clarity, not rage. That's a response. Thoughtful, balanced, and in alignment with who you want to be. The observer breath acts like a bridge to this pause. By noticing your breathing in moments of tension, you give yourself a split second of awareness. That brief awareness is often all it takes to shift from automatic reaction to conscious response. Over time, this becomes a habit, and you start noticing the power you hold in shaping your experiences. Consider how this difference plays out in daily life. In an argument with a loved one, reacting may mean saying hurtful words you don't really mean, while responding allows you to listen, pause, and speak with compassion. At work, reacting to criticism may cause defensiveness, while responding helps you reflect, learn, and grow. The truth is, life will always bring challenges, frustrations, and unexpected turns. You cannot control everything that happens to you, but you can control how you meet those moments. Learning to respond instead of react is one of the most empowering skills you can develop. And the observer breath is the simplest tool to help you master it. 4. How breath awareness calms the nervous system. Your breath is more than just a supply of oxygen. It's directly linked to your nervous system, the command center that decides whether you feel safe and calm or stressed and overwhelmed. Most people don't realize that by simply becoming aware of the breath, you can send powerful signals to the body that shift you out of tension and into relaxation. Here's how it works. The nervous system has two main modes: the sympathetic, often called the fight or flight response, and the parasympathetic, known as the rest and digest state. When you're anxious, angry, or rushing, your breath naturally becomes shallow and rapid. This tells your body to stay on high alert, releasing stress hormones like cortisol. But when you slow down and pay attention to your breathing, especially allowing longer exhales, you stimulate the parasympathetic system. This is your body's natural calming switch. Heart rate slows, muscles loosen, and the mind begins to clear. A simple example is what happens before a big presentation or exam. Your chest tightens, breathing speeds up, and nerves kick in. By pausing and consciously noticing your breath, even without forcing it, your body starts to recalibrate. The act of observing shifts focus from spiraling thoughts to the rhythm of breathing, and this alone can bring a surprising sense of steadiness. Science backs this up as well. Studies in psychology and neuroscience show that mindful breathing can reduce anxiety, lower blood pressure, and improve focus. It's like giving your body a natural reset button without relying on anything external. And the best part? It doesn't take hours of practice. Even a few mindful breaths can create a noticeable change. Think of your breath as a built-in tool for emotional regulation. Instead of trying to control every stressful situation around you, you can influence your inner state by reconnecting with your breath. This is especially powerful in moments when you feel powerless or out of control. While you may not be able to change the outside world, you can absolutely change how your body and mind respond to it. Breath awareness is more than relaxation, it's empowerment. Each time you turn your attention to the breath, you're not just calming the nervous system, you're reclaiming your balance, focus, and strength from within. 5. The link between breathing and inner clarity is something we all crave. Clarity in decisions, relationships, and the direction of our lives. Yet when the mind is clouded by stress, overthinking, or emotional turbulence, clarity feels out of reach. This is where your breath becomes a surprisingly powerful guide. By focusing on breathing, you quiet mental noise and create the mental space needed for clear insight to emerge. Think about it. When your mind is racing, it often feels like you're stuck in a storm of thoughts. In that storm, it's nearly impossible to see things as they truly are. But the moment you pause and connect with your breath, the storm begins to settle. Just as muddy water clears when it's left undisturbed, your thoughts settle when you anchor yourself in breath awareness. In that stillness, clarity naturally rises to the surface. Breathing also sharpens awareness by drawing your attention back to the present moment. Most confusion comes from replaying the past or worrying about the future, but your breath only ever happens now. Each inhale and exhale grounds you in the present, and the present is where clarity lives. For example, if you're overwhelmed about making a decision, observing your breath can cut through the noise and bring you back to what actually matters right here and now. Clarity isn't just mental, it's emotional too. Conscious breathing helps you recognize emotions without being controlled by them. Instead of being lost in anger, fear, or doubt, you start noticing them as passing experiences. This subtle shift gives you the perspective to make wiser choices rather than letting emotions dictate your actions. A practical way to use this is during moments of uncertainty. Say you're faced with a tough decision and your mind feels cluttered. Rather than overanalyzing, pause for a minute, close your eyes, and observe your breath. As your nervous system calms and thoughts slow, space opens for intuition and reason to work together. From that balanced state, the path forward often becomes much clearer. Breathing may seem ordinary, but when used consciously, it becomes a compass that points you toward clarity. Instead of chasing answers in the chaos of the mind, you find them in the stillness your breath creates. 6. Observing breath as a meditation in motion. When most people think of meditation, they picture sitting cross-legged in silence with eyes closed. While that's one way to practice, meditation doesn't always have to be still or formal. Observing your breath can turn any ordinary activity into a form of meditation in motion, where you bring mindfulness into the flow of daily life. The idea is simple. Instead of setting aside special time to meditate, you let the act of breathing anchor you wherever you are. Walking, eating, working, or even washing dishes can become opportunities for awareness. All you need to do is notice your breath while engaging in the activity. For example, while walking, observe the rhythm of your steps alongside your inhale and exhale. Suddenly, the walk shifts from autopilot to a grounding, mindful experience. This kind of moving meditation is powerful because it breaks the misconception that peace can only be found in silence. Life is busy, noisy, and unpredictable, and waiting for perfect conditions to find calm isn't realistic. By learning to observe your breath as you move through daily routines, you carry meditation into the heart of real life. Another benefit of this practice is that it prevents overthinking. The mind tends to wander into worries or to-do lists when we're on autopilot. But when you anchor your awareness to the breath, even while active, you create a steady point of focus. This helps reduce stress, enhances concentration, and makes you more present in the moment. For example, during a stressful meeting, simply noticing your breath between words or pauses can ground you in calmness while still staying engaged. Or while cooking, paying attention to your inhale as aromas rise and your exhale as you stir can transform the task into a mindful ritual instead of a chore. The magic of observing the breath in motion is that it integrates awareness into everyday life. You're no longer separating meditation from real life. Instead, life itself becomes the meditation. And with each conscious breath, you train yourself to remain calm, centered, and aware, not just on the matter cushion, but in every moment you live. 7. Using breath to detach from negative emotions. Negative emotions like anger, fear, jealousy, or sadness are part of being human. They're natural responses to life's challenges, but when we get caught up in them, they can cloud judgment, drain energy, and even damage relationships. The key is not to deny or suppress these emotions, but to create space between you and the feeling. That's where the breath becomes an incredibly powerful tool. When an intense emotion arises, the body reacts instantly. Your breath shortens, your heart races, and muscles tighten. By noticing and observing your breath in these moments, you shift your attention away from the swirl of emotion and anchor yourself in something neutral and steady. This doesn't mean the anger or sadness disappears instantly, but it prevents you from being consumed by it. You start to recognize I am feeling anger instead of I am anger. That subtle difference is where freedom begins. For example, imagine receiving harsh criticism. The immediate reaction may be to feel hurt or defensive. But if you pause, take a slow breath, and simply observe the inhale and exhale, you give yourself a chance to step back. Instead of firing off an emotional reply, you allow the intensity to soften, giving you the clarity to respond with calm or even silence. Breath awareness also helps you break the cycle of overthinking that often fuels negative emotions. When sadness turns into rumination or fear spirals into anxiety, focusing on the breath interrupts the loop. By gently bringing your attention to each inhale and exhale, you redirect your mind from replaying the story to resting in the present. A simple practice you can try is emotional breathing. The moment you notice a strong emotion rising, pause and silently say to yourself, "Inhale, I notice the feeling. Exhale, I let it pass." With repetition, this becomes a powerful way to detach without repressing. Ultimately, using breath to detach from negative emotions isn't about avoiding your feelings. It's about experiencing them without losing yourself in them. The breath acts as a reminder that emotions are temporary visitors, not permanent residents. By anchoring yourself in awareness, you regain the power to choose peace, presence, and balance, even in the face of life's storms. 8. The breath-mind connection and rewiring habits. Your breath and your mind are deeply intertwined. When your thoughts race, your breathing becomes shallow. When you're calm, your breathing naturally slows. This two-way connection means that by working with your breath, you can also influence your mind, and over time, reshape the habits that dominate your daily life. Every habit, whether good or bad, is reinforced by repetition and emotional states. Stressful habits like procrastination, overeating, or overreacting are often triggered when the nervous system is on high alert. In those moments, the mind seeks comfort or distraction, and the body follows old patterns automatically. But when you bring awareness to your breath, you interrupt that autopilot. The simple act of noticing your inhale and exhale creates a pause that weakens the grip of the old habit. For example, imagine you have a tendency to check your phone whenever you feel anxious. If instead, you take 3 conscious breaths the moment you sense the urge, you shift your mind's focus from the craving to the present moment. That small pause can be enough to break the cycle. Over time, the brain learns a new response: calm awareness instead of compulsive action. This works because conscious breathing activates the prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain responsible for decision-making and self-control. Instead of letting the emotional, impulsive parts of the brain take charge, you give space for clarity and intentional choice. Each time you do this, you're essentially rewiring your brain for healthier patterns. Ancient traditions like yoga and meditation have always emphasized the breath-mind link, but now modern neuroscience confirms it. Breathwork practices have been shown to reduce anxiety, improve focus, and even support recovery from addictive behaviors. Your breath is not just air. It's a direct line to your mental state and the patterns you carry. The best part is that you don't need to overhaul your entire life at once. Change begins in small, mindful moments. One conscious breath before reacting. One pause before reaching for an old habit. Each of these moments is like laying a new brick in the foundation of your future self. By harnessing the breath-mind connection, you move from living on autopilot to consciously shaping who you are becoming. Your breath becomes not only a tool for calm, but also a compass guiding you toward lasting transformation. 9. Practical steps to practice. Observer breath. Daily knowing about the observer breath is powerful, but the real transformation comes when you integrate it into your everyday life. The good news is that it doesn't require hours of meditation or special training. It only takes simple, consistent steps. Here's how you can start practicing daily. 1. Morning reset. Begin your day with awareness before grabbing your phone or rushing into tasks. As soon as you wake up, take 1 to 2 minutes just to notice your breath. Feel the rise and fall of your chest, the coolness of the inhale, the warmth of the exhale. This short practice sets a calm tone for the entire day. 2. Micro pauses during the day. Choose moments to check in with your breath while waiting for an elevator, standing in line, or before answering a call. These little pauses train your mind to return to presence instead of running on autopilot. 3. Breath before action. Anytime you feel stress, frustration, or indecision, pause and observe 3 natural breaths before reacting. This simple step builds the habit of responding with clarity instead of reacting impulsively. 4. Anchor with reminders. Use cues around you as gentle triggers. For example, every time you sit at your desk, touch a doorknob, or sip water, let that moment remind you to notice your breath. Over time, your environment itself becomes a partner in your mindfulness practice. 5. Evening release. Before bed, take a few minutes to observe your breathing while lying down. This not only calms the nervous system for better sleep, but also helps you reflect on the day with more peace instead of lingering tension. The key is consistency, not length. Even one conscious breath practiced many times a day builds awareness like tiny drops filling a jar. Over weeks and months, you'll notice yourself naturally pausing, observing, and choosing presence more often. The beauty of these steps is their simplicity. You don't need a meditation cushion, incense, or silence. You just need willingness and a little intention. With steady practice, the observer breath shifts from being a technique to becoming a natural part of how you live, moment by moment. 10. How consistent practice reshapes your inner and outer reality. The true power of the observer breath doesn't come from trying it once or twice. It comes from practicing it consistently. Just like a seed needs regular care to grow into a strong tree, your awareness needs repeated attention to transform your life from the inside out. With time, the simple act of observing your breath begins to reshape not only your inner state, but also how you experience the world around you. On the inside, consistent practice creates a deeper sense of calm and resilience. Stressful situations that once threw you off balance begin to feel more manageable. You notice emotions without being overwhelmed, thoughts without being consumed, and challenges without losing yourself in them. Over weeks and months, you start to see that peace is no longer something you chase. It's something you carry within you. This inner shift naturally reflects in your outer reality. The way you communicate changes because you're no longer reacting impulsively. Relationships improve because you listen with presence instead of judgment. Even work and decision-making feel different as you approach tasks with greater clarity and focus. People around you may not know what's changed, but they'll notice the calm, grounded energy you bring into every space. Consistency also rewires the brain through a process called neuroplasticity, the ability of your mind to form new pathways based on repeated behaviors. Each time you choose to observe your breath instead of reacting automatically, you strengthen the neural circuits of patience, awareness, and self-control. Over time, this becomes your new default way of being. The beauty of this transformation is that it doesn't require grand effort. You don't need hours of meditation retreats or complex rituals. Just a few mindful moments, practiced consistently, can gradually shift the trajectory of your life. It's like compounding interest. Small investments add up to extraordinary results. Ultimately, consistent practice of the observer breath teaches you that reality is not something fixed out there, but something shaped by your inner state. By aligning with calm, clarity, and presence, you begin to create a life that reflects those qualities. Change starts within, and through steady breath awareness, it flows outward into every part of your world. Your breath is your bridge to peace and clarity. Comment, I choose calm within, below, and remember. At Quantum Power, your transformation begins inside. Like, share, and subscribe.